Hello and welcome. I'm Angela Meiritz-Reid of Stamping Beauty in Christchurch, New Zealand. And today I'm going to be creating using a couple of new stamp sets that arrived yesterday. The Berry Harvest one and the Kindest Expressions. I love this Berry Harvest one. I thought there are lots of opportunities with this one, and you wouldn't necessarily need to keep it as one big large stamp. You could fussy cut those and create smaller little images from those. If you live in New Zealand and would like a copy of the current catalogue, please message me. I'd love to send you one. So to get started, I've actually got my Stamparatus here, and I know that Stampin Up don't sell these anymore, so you might have a different brand, or alternatively this large block will work too. It's just handy with a repositioning tool if you're not quite happy with the image you get. So I'm going to use Stays On, and this is a piece of the Fluid 100. So I just want to get that ink all over this image. So it's quite a big image, and you really do want to work reasonably quickly because this can dry quite quickly. Once you feel like you've got a really good coverage, just quickly pat just to get a bit of an extra on there, and then I'm just going to pop that over there, and then I'm just going to just really press hard down with, get a good coverage. And as you can see, it's not so good there, so I'll just take it in without inking it up, and then if it does need a bit more, I can just ink up that area. It does need a little bit more, so just in that one area. Still not quite. That's okay, that's pretty good. It's going to be watercoloured anyway, so it won't matter too much. Just close that up before I land in that. And then I'm just going to bring in some scrap paper. So then what I'm going to do is watercolour this whole image. So if you I get a little bit bored, just feel free to skip past until we get to the end. But I'm going to start in with the, actually I won't use that one, I'll use one of these nice fine ones. So I'm just going to, just need a bit more colour in that here. So I'm using Blackberry Bliss, because I thought these could be raspberries, or blackberries, so I thought I could add this use this darker colour. So what I'm going to do, just go in and colour that. So I'm just try and sort of go around the edge first, so I've got the colour, so I know where my outline is. And then just go on and grab a tiny little bit of darker and just bop that around. Another option with that is you could just go in with your Stampin' Right marker and just do a couple of dabs, and that will just add a little bit of darker to that, just depending on what sort of look you want. So going to do the same here, just go around the edge, fill it in, and where those sort of, you can see there are darker bits, just add a bit of darkness. Otherwise, just, it doesn't really matter, just sort of plop it down to give a little bit of difference. So you do need, if you're going to be doing something like this, you need a little bit of patience. Alternatively, you could just do a more abstract look and just throw down some colour. Either not going right to the edge or not worrying that it is over the edge. You could sort of just, you know, add colour like that and just leave it like that. But I'm going to fill them in to this. I'm going to do a neat version of this. Just get that colour. And I do find it just helps if you do the edge ones first and then fill it. Less chance of going over the edges. And also, if you're not sure about where something starts or where something ends, just with your stamped image, you can always go and look at the image on the cover, because it is very clear. It just helps. So as I said, just feel free to speed past, and because I'm just going to be doing more of the same. Until I've got all the berries done. If you want to hang out with me while I do this, you're more than welcome. Just going to chit chat. So if you're not into any chit chat, you might want to speed past. I thought I really liked this set, this stamps. When I saw it, I thought it was a little bit different, and I have been playing around with a few different ideas and really enjoying having something different to work with. I could have done a better job of stamping that, but I'm going to put a sentiment over it as well, so, and do some, flick some colour around, so it doesn't matter too much. Always seems when I do something like this, you think you've got all the everything coloured in, and then you go back and look and you've missed something. So I'll go back and put the darker spots in when I've done a few more of these, just because it gives it a chance to dry a little bit, and then it won't just run completely. It will stand out a little bit. So I'll just go back and do a few. And if they don't run enough, then you can, you know, just blend enough. You can go back in and add a little bit more water to them. Because you just want them to blend in a little bit. I'm probably getting a little bit paler, but you can always go and add a little bit more colour if you want them to be a bit darker. So I think I've done most of those ones down on that half, so just turn around so I don't smudge anything. So it doesn't really take that long to get the colour down. And it's nice to enjoy the process too. It's quite therapeutic, just painting away. And these watercolour or water painters. The Stampin' Up ones are great. They have different points on them. This is one of the really fine ones, which is great for this sort of work. You can get quite detailed. And yeah, some of those are, even there aren't very, it's what you notice afterwards, isn't it, that it hasn't stamped very well, but definitely when it's on your positioning, stamp positioning tool, you can sort of adjust it and go back in and not adjust it, but go back in and add more colour, more ink. Nearly there. It's good when there are big clumps of them. They're a lot easier to get the colour down on. I think I've done them all, so I'll just go on and add some little dark bits and hope that they merge a little bit. You could, if you wanted, you know, be more particular and put them on where the dark bits are, but you just get a random few spots that still give that same look, and the shadows are there so that will show through anyway. I think that I'm just going to make that a little bit darker. I think I've done them all, but if not, I can go back in and do those later. So I'm just going to clean that brush off because I really like this brush. And then I'm going to use, this is Garden Green. I thought that went really well with the Blackberry Bliss. So just add some colour onto there. If not, you can use the ink refills. They work well. So I'll come back down here to this side. So what I want to do is a similar sort of scenario. Get that colour down. And I'll just work my way around. And I like even leaving some little, not filling it in totally, leaving a few white, just the background of the paper. And those are just little bits of off the bottom of the berries. Just go and do the same system, do the edges and then fill it in. These beautiful shapes of the leaves, I love these. And with that fine edge, it's really easy to do those stems and those little green bits at the bottom of the berry. And then you could, if you wanted, do lots of be really intricate. And maybe if you're just colouring a couple of them for to cut out, you know, and pop the where the light's coming in, do it lighter, and where the shade is, darken it up. And maybe I might do something like that at a later stage, but this card is is really a bit of just a background, so it almost looks like a bit of DSP. So like before, if you want to, just fast forward me until the end. Oh, I'll just show you one little thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go back onto these leaves here like I did with the berries and just add a bit of darker. And then that one's dried a little bit, so I'll just add a bit of lighter, just so it'll blend in a bit without too much blending. So that's all I'm going to do, is just go in and on those veins that are there, just add a bit of colour and hope that they'll, if I get them on soon enough, it'll blend in. So that's what I'm going to do. So you're welcome to hang out with me while I colour it in. Otherwise, just fast forward to when I'm finished the leaves. I'll be chattering away if I remember to. Sometimes I get so engrossed in what I'm doing, I think have I been talking? But yeah, it is. I just love it. I just could potter around with this all day. If you weren't one for colouring, you could certainly do this background as a background stamp just by embossing it onto coloured card, or even white on white, or you know, gold onto a really bright background would look fabulous. So lots of different options. You could Versamark it just to give that watermark look on the back of a project background. These are a bit easier to colour because they're a bit bigger, so it's a little bit faster. Just add that colour in. And I'm not being, you know, precise because I just want it to look natural and organic-ish. You could, you know, if you want to add a bit of extra darker colour to some of those too, to the little branches, or these little bits at the end of the berries. And smooch that a bit more just by adding a bit more water. Then I'll turn that around and nearly finished. That isn't, I don't know how long I've been doing this for. It doesn't feel very long. And if you have the ink refills, you can always just use those. It works just as well. and alternatively, you know, you could mix a larger amount and just pop it into the barrel of hair and colour, so that you get the same, exactly the same colour coming through. Certainly be quicker than going backwards and forwards. And if you are a stickler for wanting the colour to be uniform, then that would definitely do that. So nearly there. Some last little bits on there. I think just add a bit of those green on those darker green. You could even spritz it if you really wanted to get a really sort of runny, sort of, you know, do its own thing a little bit, then that would definitely change up the look a little bit. So I think I've got everything. So you could just keep on adding and playing with it, but I think that's pretty good coverage. Just squeeze that, clean it. I just want that to run just a little bit, those ones. But as I say, by the time you put a sentiment on, and if you know, flick it with some, I might flick it with some white pigment ink, flick it with a bit of colour, and then I thought the boho blue, which is my absolute favourite colour, I thought would look really nice in the background. So this is just going to take a little bit of time as well. This is something you don't have to do, but I just really like the look of the background. So once again, you can hang out with me or just fast forward. This is going to be a bit slower. A couple of pointers, don't need to go right to the edge. Potentially it's going to end up bleeding if they muddle. Hopefully it's had a little bit of time to dry, but even if it's dry and get it wet with another ink, it will bleed a little bit. But I don't worry too much if you get a bit of that, doesn't matter. And you can sort of manage to, you know, if you get a paper towel, lift up some of the colour or the wet, the moisture, that helps. But otherwise, just if you don't get too close, hopefully it won't happen. And then if you want the background to be even, then mix, you know, quite a good amount up. I'm not too worried. I'm quite happy if it's a little bit lighter and darker. I don't mind too much. And to get that sort of watercolour wet look in the background, just add a bit more water. And it's really just about moving it around and getting it coloured in the background. And it's quite good if, you know, to avoid it, you know, another way to avoid it sort of mixing it is to work in an area that, you know, hopefully has dried before you move on to something, you know, where that last area that I worked on. Makes sense. And you don't have to, like, even in just these bits here, just add a tiny little dot, you know, just enough to take the colour in without being too particular. There's even little bits of white just to add a bit of interest. So, if you're still with me, you know, you could do it along with me if you have something similar, or the set you'd like to try it. The more water you put in with it, then you are going to get those sort of watermarked edges look. So it depends if you want that or a more flat look. And then also, you know, you can then dry it and sort of get those watermark look as well. As you can see, the colour's sort of a bit different. So you could, that's another thing, is mix up enough to do the whole background, so you're getting the same colour. And you could pop it in the barrel here as well. I'm not quite sure how much you would need, but you could certainly mix some more if you knew what sort of proportions, and then you get the same colour mix again. And if you want a bit darker, like, just go back in and add a bit. But I think that just adds a bit of interest again, if it's not perfect. So you can see that how that comes together. And just lifts that with the blue. I just love this. I always love balmy blue, and now boho blue has arrived, and it's now my favourite. Now what's that? There, and it might be part of that leaf. I might just go in and add a bit more green to that bit there. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it matters too much. Sometimes you can get too caught up in what it is. Nobody else would notice. So, and even there I've missed that stalk there and a bit of green. So it does pay to just keep your other bits that you've been using handy, and you can go in and add them as you go, because it is surprising how many little bits you can miss. So I think that's like the way that's taking shape. I've got two card bases out, one in the boho blue and one in the blackberry bliss, just to see which looks better. I couldn't, because I hadn't made it up yet. I didn't know which one would look best, so do that once I've got it coloured. Now I'll make that a little bit dark in the middle. That's all right. You can, you know, we always say you can add colour, you can't take it away, but you actually can take a bit of colour away if you like. You can go, see, by just taking that lighter colour in, or even just a clean brush, you can lift it off. Just nearly there. other ways of colouring would be with the Stampin' Up markers. You could use those. You could use Stampin' Blends. That would be, you'd get some great looks with that, with the blends, you know, blending the colours. You could use watercolour pencils. I think they would do really well on this too. I must get them out. I don't use them so much. And just a bit in here. So nearly there. So if you've watched it all through, good. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. So just this last bit in here. More green on the end of that. Actually, that green there hasn't really blended that well. So yeah, sometimes it just behaves differently. It feels. Feel like you're doing the same thing, but just ends up looking differently. As I say, by the time I've added some splatter, I might splatter with the white, the pigment, and also maybe even some boho blue. And then I'll trim it down. It might actually, it would look quite good if you cut it into 2 panels. You could get two smaller panels on a card, so you don't waste any. So does anyone else like boho blue as much as I do? So it's an in colour, so it won't be staying well for the next couple of years, so I have to make the most of it. But perhaps it might eventually be one of those colours they bring in permanently. So nearly there. Quite nice in a little frame. Right, done. So hopefully I have done every area. So I haven't got I haven't got the boho blue Stampin' Up marker. You could get some more ink off here and flick it with that, or just the boho blue Stampin' Blends will do that. So just give it a bit of a flick, just a bit of, not too much maybe, it's probably enough. And then I think the pigment white, actually I'll do that last because that takes a long time to dry, so and you end up with it on your fingers and on projects, so it's not ideal. So I'll just bring these 2 bases in, I'll just cut them in half and just see what one looks the best. There's that one there, that one there. It's hard to know, isn't it, sometimes how something. Oh, I think I like it on the boho blue, so I'll go with that. So what I want to do is trim it down now. So I want it to be about 10 centimetres. So let's trim it down to 10. just get a nice straight edge on here. So that's going to sit on there perfectly. Great. Oh, that looks lovely. Really happy with that. So I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of that, just so it gets a nice little lift to it. Plenty of those. Keep it nice and flat. And get that on here nice and evenly. And then it's a matter of sentiment. So I'm going to thought that with Sympathy would be a good stamp out of that set. It's got some great sentiments, but sometimes I don't often have a Sympathy that's sort of a neutral, not masculine or feminine. So I think that will look quite nice. And I think I'll just take in the blue. I think we'll stick to that. So I'll just going to heat emboss this just in white, just to keep it. It's pretty simple and elegant, I think. Just, you know, for a Sympathy card, I think we don't want to be, just keep it nice and classy. But absolutely any sentiment would work, I think, on this card. So just heat set this, and won't be a minute. So you could find a die that worked with that. Otherwise, I'm just going to fussy cut it out, which won't take too long. I'll cut that straight initially, but what I want to do is just indent a little bit where, just to take a little bit of the straightness off, because nothing else on this straight. So, and then just curve those edges a little bit, and just the secret to fussy cutting is not getting totally up to the letters, just leaving a little bit of a gap. And it's definitely one of those things I find I've got better at the more I've done. If you absolutely hate it, then as I say, find a die that will work. A round die might work. I'm sure there's something you can alter to work. That is that. I just want to pop that on there. And I think it's a really simple little white bow. Just trim those ends, and then before I pop all that together, I think I'm going to pop that about there. I'm just going to flick it with the white. So I've got the white here, the pigment ink, and then I've got an old water or aqua painter, and I'll just add some to that. You don't need a lot, it's really thick, but I've got water in here, so that will water it down a little bit. I'll just put that in, and I don't want it on the blue, on my boho blue, so I've just got some scrap bits of paper, so I'll just pop that edges so that I don't get it on there. So if I wasn't in a, doing it for a video, I would have probably done it, left it for a while and then come back and put it together. So then I just want to add the water to that and mix it up. So depending on how big a your blobs you want to be, your splatters, just flick. If you don't like this look, just don't need to do this, just leave it out. I love just adding those to that. So I'll just take those away. So you just really don't want to touch that at all, because it will, trust me, I've got it on, had it on fingers, had it on all sorts of places. So then we want to add the bow and the sentiment. So just going to use a glue dot. So probably about there. And then just place that bow down there. And press, and then this I will play with later once it's all dry. And then with Sympathy, it just needs to sit, so I'll just put some dimensionals just so that's going to sit either side of that, not just half up there, half here, maybe just a little bit, another half in here. Really want to avoid that the knot in the middle, and then just bring that, I always line it up with something and then take it straight up, so about there, should be okay, still without touching anything. And then lastly, you could put some little embellishments on there as well, just to add a little bit more interest. Even just some, these little wee rhinestones are cute. So cut that off properly. So just want to work out where to put those. Otherwise, the other thing that would look quite cute, the wee pearls. I wonder if they might look better actually. So just, oopsie, sorry. Just sort of spread those around gaps. So they'll add a little bit of sparkle to your card. And that is my card completed. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry it was longer than I normally do, but if you, you know, you were more than welcome to fast forward any bits. So thanks again, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.